Imagine yourself sailing down the mighty Nile, surrounded by enigmatic monuments rising majestically against the golden dusk sky. Now, envision these ancient structures holding secrets even more fascinating than their imposing facades suggest, the mysteries of the afterlife as conceived by the ancient Egyptians. Let's unravel these hidden secrets, exploring how religion deeply intertwined with the everyday life of the Egyptians shaped one of humanity's most enigmatic and enduring practices. Have you ever wondered how religious beliefs can shape an entire civilization, influencing everything from daily rituals to grand practices of preserving the dead? By understanding these beliefs, you'll gain a fresh perspective on life, death, and the eternal human desire for immortality. Watching this video isn't just about learning about a captivating chapter in human history. It's also an opportunity to reflect on universal questions of existence. How do our beliefs about the afterlife influence the way we live? And what if ancient practices could teach us something about how we deal with death today? Get ready to be transported to an era of gods and mortals, where the quest for eternity led humanity to create a legacy that defies time. Whether you seek knowledge, inspiration, or simply a fascinating adventure through history, this video is for you. In the twilight of humanity, on the banks of the eternal Nile River, one of the most enigmatic and fascinating civilizations the world has ever known was born. Ancient Egypt, a realm of mysteries shrouded in the sands of time, not only erected imposing pyramids and carved eternal monuments but also forged an intimate and profound relationship with the divine. Ancient Egypt was not just a civilization defined by its iconic monuments, such as the pyramids and the Great Sphinx, but also by a complex web of religious beliefs that permeated every aspect of daily life. This section of the video transports us to the land of endless dunes, revealing how the geography and climate of Egypt shaped the society and religion of this ancient people. Born on the fertile banks of the Nile River, ancient Egypt was a land of sharp contrasts. Life depended on the annual floods of the Nile, which brought the necessary water and silt for agriculture amidst a relentless desert. This dependency on the river not only established the Nile as a vital artery of Egyptian civilization, but also inspired the belief in the importance of balance and harmony with the natural world. Egyptian society was stratified, with a pharaoh at the apex, considered both king and god on earth, followed by priests, nobles, artisans, peasants, and slaves. This hierarchy was seen as a reflection of cosmic order, with the pharaoh serving as an intermediary between the gods and the people. Stability and continuity were central values, and maintaining this social order was believed to be essential for the preservation of the cosmos. Religion was closely tied to this worldview. The ancient Egyptians believed in a pantheon of gods representing aspects of nature and the human condition. Worshipping these gods, practicing rituals, and offering sacrifices were ways to ensure the continuity of natural and cosmic order. Magnificent temples were built as earthly abodes of the gods, where daily rituals were performed to appease these powerful deities. The belief in an afterlife was central to Egyptian religion. Egyptians viewed death as a transition to another state of existence, where the deceased could continue to enjoy a life similar to earthly existence, but only if proper rituals were performed and the body was preserved. This view of eternity led to the development of complex mummification practices and the cult of the dead, reflecting the importance of religion in overcoming death and seeking immortality. In this context, we explore how geography, society, and religion intertwine to form the unique tapestry of Egyptian civilization, setting the stage for understanding the practices of mummification and the cult of the dead that will follow. Delving deeper into the religious essence of ancient Egypt, this section explores the Egyptian pantheon, a crucial aspect for understanding how religious beliefs influence the practices of mummification and the cult of the dead. The Egyptians believed in a vast multitude of gods, each encompassing different aspects of life, death, nature, and the cosmos. This diversity reflects the complexity of human existence and the endeavor to comprehend and influence the natural and supernatural world. Osiris, god of the afterlife and resurrection, Osiris was central in Egyptian mythology. His myth of death and rebirth not only symbolized the agricultural cycle of death and renewal, but also promised the possibility of life after death for mortals. Osiris judged the souls of the dead, deciding who deserved eternity. Isis was revered as the goddess of motherhood, magic, and fertility. Her unwavering devotion to Osiris, even after his death, and the reconstruction of his body is one of the most touching stories in Egyptian mythology. Isis symbolized loyalty, the ability to renew, and the promise of life after death. Anubis guardian of the dead, Anubis is often depicted with the head of a jackal. He presided over embalming and mummification, guiding the deceased to Osiris. Anubis was crucial to the mummification ritual, ensuring that the rite was performed correctly, reflecting the importance of this god in funerary practices. Horus son of Isis and Osiris, Horus was the god of the sky, often depicted as a falcon or as a man with the head of a falcon. Horus's struggle against Set to avenge his father's death symbolizes the victory of good over evil and order over chaos, reflecting the constant effort to maintain harmony in the world and beyond. The worship of these gods and many others permeated every aspect of Egyptian life. Each god had their own rituals of worship, temples, and dedicated priests, reflecting the belief that pleasing the gods would ensure benefits such as health, prosperity, and protection against the forces of chaos. In death, this connection with the divine became even more evident. The belief in immortality and the possibility of life after death under the protection of the gods was a comfort for the living and a promise for the deceased. The rituals of mummification and the enchantments of the Book of the Dead aimed to prepare the deceased for the journey to the afterlife, ensuring their acceptance by Osiris and a peaceful existence in eternity. The constant presence and veneration of the Egyptian gods reflected a worldview where the divine permeated all spheres of existence, from the most mundane moments to the most sacred rituals associated with death and the afterlife. This understanding prepares us to delve more deeply into the practices of mummification and the cult of the dead, illuminating how ancient Egyptian religion offers a window into the soul of a civilization that still speaks to us through the millennia. The Egyptian conception of the afterlife was extraordinarily rich and detailed, reflecting a profound integration of religious beliefs with the society's worldview. These beliefs not only outlined an existence beyond the tomb but also instructed the living on how to prepare for it. In this deeper exploration, we will delve into the nuances of the journey after death, the advanced methods of mummification, and the spiritual significance of the Book of the Dead, offering a more detailed look at this fascinating aspect of Egyptian religion. The Duat, the realm of the dead, was imagined as a mirror of Egypt, with its own rivers, fields, and gods. It was not merely a place of rest, but a domain filled with challenges. The deceased embarked on a perilous journey, facing demons and passing through gates guarded by supernatural beings, each demanding secret passwords. The heart of the deceased, symbolizing their morality, was weighed against the feather of Mot, the goddess of truth and justice, in a tribunal presided over by Osiris. Those deemed pure were welcomed into the field of reeds, while the unworthy were devoured by the creature Amit, losing their chance at eternity. Mummification, far from being a macabre practice, was a sacred art and a meticulous science, evolving over millennia. The methods varied according to the status and wealth of the individual, from complex embalming for the elite to simpler methods for the less fortunate. The standard process involved the removal of internal organs, which were treated separately and, in many cases, placed in canopic jars. The brain was extracted through the nose using special hooks, and the body was dehydrated with natron before being wrapped in linen bandages, among which amulets were placed for protection. This process not only preserved the body but also transformed it into a suitable vessel for the Ka and the Ba, essential for existence in the afterlife. The detailed Egyptian conceptions of life after death, articulated through their practices of mummification and in the Book of the Dead, reveal a society deeply engaged with questions of morality, justice, and the eternity of the soul. By meticulously preparing the deceased for the afterlife, the Egyptians manifested not only a profound respect for life after death but also an understanding that earthly life was just the beginning of a much longer and more significant journey. This deep dive into Egyptian beliefs about death and the afterlife invites us to reflect on our own conceptions of eternity, morality, and the legacy we leave behind, providing a window into the past that continues to influence human thought on the great mysteries of life and death. Mummification in ancient Egypt was a practice that demonstrated the inseparable union between religion, culture, and the worldview of this ancient civilization. This process, more than just a technique for preserving the body, was a set of rituals laden with symbolism and profound meanings, reflecting the Egyptian belief in the importance of life after death and the necessity of preparing the deceased for eternity. The process of mummification was elaborate and could take up to 70 days, involving several meticulous steps. 1. Removal of organs *. The internal organs, except the heart, were removed as they were considered sources of rapid decomposition. They were treated separately and often stored in canopic jars, which were placed in the tomb alongside the body. 2. Dehydration and cleansing *. The body was then cleaned and dehydrated using natron, a natural mixture of salts, which helped preserve the tissues. 3. Stuffing and shaping *. After dehydration, the body was stuffed with materials such as linen or sawdust to maintain its shape. This step was crucial to preserve the deceased's physical appearance. 4. Oiling * Oils and resins were applied to maintain the skin's elasticity and prevent decomposition. This step also had a ritualistic significance, purifying the body. 5. Wrapping *. Finally, the body was wrapped in hundreds of meters of linen strips, among which amulets and magical objects were placed to protect the deceased on their journey to the afterlife. Each layer and each amulet had specific meanings, invoking protection and blessings from the gods. In ancient Egypt, death was not the end but a transition to a new form of existence. This deeply ingrained belief permeated all facets of Egyptian culture, giving rise to a complex and ritualistic set of funerary practices and the cult of the dead. This segment explores how the Egyptians honored their deceased, preparing them not only for the afterlife but also ensuring that they would continue to be remembered and revered by the living. Egyptian funerary practices were intricately linked to the belief in immortality and the need to provide the deceased with everything necessary for the next life. Tombs, far from being mere resting places, were filled with valuable objects, food, and everyday artifacts, reflecting the belief that the deceased would continue to use these items in the afterlife. The construction of tombs and pyramids was an act of profound religious and social significance, serving as bridges between the world of the living and the dead. Pyramids, most notably associated with the pharaohs of the Old Kingdom, were considered as stairways to heaven, allowing the divine king to unite with the gods. More common tombs were richly decorated with scenes from everyday life and texts of enchantments, intended to ensure a safe passage and a pleasant existence in the afterlife. Burial rituals were complex and varied according to social status, but all aimed to protect the spirit of the deceased and ensure their transition and well-being in the afterlife. Funeral processions, offerings, and recitations of sacred texts were common, aiming to appease the gods and activate the magic necessary for the protection of the deceased. The cult of the dead was a vital practice for the ancient Egyptians, believing that the spirits of the deceased required continuous attention and veneration to ensure their well-being and support in the afterlife. Families regularly visited the tombs, bringing offerings of food, drink, and prayers. It was believed that by providing for their dead, the living could receive blessings, guidance, and protection in return. The perpetuation of the memory of the dead was of paramount importance. Naming the deceased in prayers and inscribing their names and titles on tombs was not only a way to honor those who had passed, but also ensured the continuity of their existence in the afterlife. The destruction or forgetting of an individual's name was considered a second death, to be avoided at all costs. The funerary practices and cult of the dead in ancient Egypt reflect a sophisticated and multifaceted understanding of death and the afterlife. These practices not only demonstrate profound respect for the deceased but also belief in the continuity of life after death and the interconnectedness between the living and the dead. Through these rituals and beliefs, the ancient Egyptians sought to transcend death, ensuring an eternal place for themselves in the ordered cosmos they believed existed beyond this life.